Well, good morning once again, everybody. I have to just give you some well wishes for everyone that's had to shovel some snow. And I want to ask this question, and maybe you could respond on social media across all our platforms and YouTube and all that. Is it okay to save spots after you dig your car out in the city? I saw a little story on the Action News last night about it as well. And I just want to know if you're yay or nay on that. Like, you can save a spot, or no, everyone's got to dig out anyway. Forget about it. But I know I did my share of shoveling yesterday. I live next to a couple older ladies that need some help shoveling. So it's not just my little sidewalk where it's about 10 feet. It's also theirs, which is probably another 100 feet, maybe even 120 feet. And it's a lot of work. So I've been putting in the work, but that, like I said yesterday, is just going to be my exercise for the year right there. But I hope everyone's braving the storms rather well. It looks like we're going to be on the end of it, possibly more snow on Friday, but it looks like that's just about to miss us, as at least that's what Cecily Tynan told me last night and everybody else in the Delaware Valley. Welcome into this edition, episode 3 of the Farzy Show. I'm Marc Farzetta. Thanks for joining us on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Facebook Live, and across all social media platforms as well. Welcome to the Steven Singer Studios. We got so much to get to today. A lot of news breaking yesterday, some about some names past, some about names present, but probably the most exciting thing was just knowing that we're going to get to watch the 76ers and Joel Embiid play rather soon, tonight, for instance. We're also going to get to a conversation that I had last night with Alex Singleton, the Eagles' leading tackler. Some interesting things came out of that conversation. One of his former coaches, for instance, apparently thinks of himself as a move. He had personal relationships with the guys that have been brought in as coaches. But probably the biggest thing surrounding Eagles football right now is that fella by the name of Jalen Hurts. Because I'm with most people in thinking that the Eagles they just want Carson Wentz to be successful. But this little story that's come out recently about Jalen Hurts to CBSSports.com has me a little puzzled. For instance, Jalen Hurts is supposed to be the backup to Carson Wentz. That's why they drafted him, allegedly. Carson Wentz has a lot of money tied up to his name. That's why it would, as I said, behoove the Eagles to make sure he is successful. However, here's where I think about money in the NFL and how, yes, it's a salary cap league, but why does it matter? Because sometimes you see these mega deals get moved. Howie Roseman's done it in the past. He's reworked deals to try to open up space for other people or try to rework some money to reward other people, like he did with Brandon Brooks' contract a couple of years ago to give Nick Foles an extra, I think, $2 million it was. So the money, yes, obviously it matters in the NFL, but there always seems to be a loophole. And if we can give steady credit to Howie Roseman for anything, it's the idea that he knows how to rework those numbers. And the only reason I get into that conversation right now is because you would think, with all the reports coming out about how the Philadelphia Eagles want Carson Wentz to be their franchise quarterback, and supposedly one of the big reasons they hired a guy like Nick Sirianni is because of his ties to Frank Reich and because he can fix, quote unquote, he can fix Carson Wentz. I don't know if he can or not. I think the Eagles have confidence that he can. Supposedly, one of the big interviewing questions was, hey, can you fix Carson? Oh, absolutely, because I want the job. But if all that was true, why would the Eagles, first off, draft Jalen Hurts to begin with? Let's just put that out there. Why would the Eagles contact Lincoln Riley as their number one pick to be their next head coach, only to be turned down by the Eagles? Lincoln Riley, obviously the coach at Oklahoma for Jalen Hurts while he was there. And then why, most recently, would the Eagles go and hire Brian Johnson to be their quarterback's coach, who is a close personal friend of the Jalen Hurts family? So that, to me, doesn't really add up. And if you're thinking Carson Wentz might be mentally soft and, oh, he's haunted by the statue of Nick Foles and even Doug Peterson, who apparently didn't get along with, he's haunted by that statue, which is really a Bud Light advertisement out there at Lincoln Financial Field. If you're worried about his mental state and mental toughness, then why would you be pulling this other end around? Really, there's no explanation for it other than the people running the show don't really know the best way to go about this. If one is true that they want Carson Wentz to be their starting quarterback going forward, then why are you clouding that with more ties to Jalen Hurts? And if the other is true, Jalen Hurts is going to be the guy, going to be the franchise guy, why are the reports coming out that you want Carson Wentz to be the franchise guy going forward? this is all confusing. And the only reason I bring all this up right now is because Jalen Hurts spoke to that quarterback competition yesterday, to CBSSports.com. But we're all just waiting with great anticipation to see how this actually plays out. And if Carson Wentz has all this money tied to his name, then why are they trying to make this a more confusing issue for the quarterback they supposedly want to champion? It also shows you the guys pulling the strings really don't know how to pull those strings, it seems, at this point right now. If we're confused by it as fans, as media members, then how do you think the two guys actually involved in this are feeling about it in Carson and Jalen? But I'll tell you this, the comments that Jalen Hurts did make, this is the right mindset. This is the way to think if you're trying to compete for a quarterback spot in the NFL. The comments he made to CBSSports.com are interesting. He's asked about the quarterback competition. Is there going to be one? We've talked about in our two previous shows, there's absolutely going to be a quarterback competition, barring some outside drastic measure. Somebody gets hurt. The Eagles are able to work a trade for that team, to that team, and then we see where it goes from there. But Jalen Hurts gets asked about it and says, who's going to be basically the starting quarterback? What do you think about the quarterback competition? Who's going to be the starting quarterback going forward? And he says, it's a great question. It's a great question. He said with a laugh, like that's thrown in there. I'll tell you what, I'm putting in the work on my end, trying to build those relationships with my guys. I'm excited for this offense. I'm excited for this offseason, just excited to take the next step. So regardless of what's what, I'm challenging myself to be the best quarterback I can be. Five-star answer. Jalen Hurts, swagger on the field. We've seen it. Certainly has the swagger in the media interviews as well. Any young person that's approaching their professional athletic career, that's what you say. That is the perfect answer. He's trying to take the next step. Chalk this up to, well, what's he gonna say? Sure, he could go along the lines of the great movie Bull Durham and just give the typical young man response, hey, good Lord willing, things will work out. I'm going to work really hard. But he doesn't. He says that he does have ambition. Anybody that's suiting up, whether that's a backup or starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, guess what? I'd kind of like them to have ambition. I'd kind of like them to have some swagger. I'd kind of like them to be a confident human being. And that's all that is. Now, I bring it up for another reason as well. It's a clickbait society. It's a piping hot take society. This is something that should be chalked up, not just to, well, what's he going to say, but what you should say. I know that some of these athletes do go through the media training. I know the Phillies would do a media camp type of thing, but this is something that every single young athlete should say. So I have no problem with this whatsoever. Some people might say, oh, he's gunning for Carson's job. Duh. Okay. He should be. He should be vying for a starting quarterback spot. So good for him. Now, the other thing that just keeps on adding fuel to the fire here is the Brian Johnson question, the quarterback coach of the Eagles, who, again, has family ties to the Jalen Hurts family. He says, Coach Brian is like family. I've known him since I was 4 years old. My dad actually coached him in high school. Some of us knew that already. I grew up watching him play, and I got a lot of love for that man. Eagles right now couldn't be confusing this situation more than how they already have. And I know it's going to come down to one quarterback competing against the other. I still think after all this, it does boil down to Carson Wentz having the edge because of the money and Jalen Hurts having to basically KO the man when the competition actually begins. That was the lead story on a lot of sites and a lot of people, and obviously we're leading with it here on the show. I just chalk it up to a guy who's confident, who wants to be a starting quarterback. Good for you. Congratulations. And by the way, there's two ways to take this if you're Carson Wentz. One is, oh, woe is me. Hopefully I get traded. The other is, let's go. Let's party. Let's get after it. You want a competition? The first win I'm going to get, the first W I'm going to get is going to be in training camp. And I'm going to take the reins back as a starting quarterback of this team. Unquestioned, I'm going to go out there and ball out. I'm hoping that's part of maybe a motivation tactic for the Eagles, but I think that's giving them too much credit for trying to figure this out. Now, when it comes to that Eagles team, I know a lot of people were busy yesterday. The snow caused all kinds of people to stay home and shovel and get outside and all that stuff and then relax later in the day. So if you didn't see our interview yesterday with Hugh Douglas, friend of the show, it was our first installment of Hugh's Day. Every Tuesday, Hugh Douglas will join the show. And Hugh Douglas talked about Nick Sirianni. And I had asked him about the press conference. And Hugh saw the press conference, Saw that Nick Sirianni didn't seem all that confident. Let's put it that way. But one of the things we try to keep in mind here is saying maybe he's not the best public speaker in the world. Okay, fine. Andy Reid was terrible. Doug Peterson, although he owned his opening press conference, took the most L's I've ever seen a coach take at a press conference ever in one single season, and that was this past year. From the Jason Peters saga to talking about Carson Wentz's regression, which I'm sure didn't sit well with Carson Wentz or at all. And if you think about that media training, any coach probably would have said, yeah, I don't know if he's regressed. We've had some struggles so far this year, blah, blah, blah. But no, he was like, oh, yeah, there's been a regression. So that didn't sit too well with Carson, I'm sure. But when it comes to all this other stuff, and it comes to Doug Peterson and the Eagles moving on from him and going to a guy who doesn't have that much experience commanding a locker room the way Doug Peterson would have had in Nick Sirianni, Hugh Douglas compared it to Andy Reid. And he said, Andy Reid came here to Philadelphia after Ray Rhodes traded for Hugh Douglas from the Jets. And he comes to town as this quarterback coach for the Green Bay Packers. And Hugh Douglas, along with some other guys, were just thinking, who's this guy? He doesn't know what he's doing. But I'll let Hugh tell you the story. In case you missed it yesterday, this is wild. And I think Nick Sirianni needs to have this type of Andy Reid moment for any player that's playing for him that doesn't necessarily believe in him yet. Here's Hugh Douglas on how this would affect the rest of the locker room.
Can I tell you a story, Mark? When Coach Reid first got here, I didn't trust him. I mean, it's kind of the same thing because he was a nobody. He was a nobody. And I remember, being in practice and he would do certain things. And I remember saying in practice one time to my teammates, and he accidentally heard me. I was like, he don't know what the hell he's doing. And he told me, quit my bitching. He said, quit your bitching. Don't you know you're getting better? And I was like, okay. So there was a method to his madness. But the point that I'm trying to make is, as a coach, you have to earn that, especially when you got a bunch of guys that don't know anything about you. And then let's be realistic. Look at the way that the Eagles head coach came about. I mean, just look at it, the timeline and everything. It almost looked like it was scattershot, and he was the guy that got the job. That's no disrespect to Howie or Jeffrey Lurie or anybody. That's just the way that it looks to me. That it looks like this was something that, hey, who wants to be the Eagles coach? If you want to be the coach, you got the job. That's kind of how it looked.
Slip shot. It's kind of how it looked. And I agree with you. But first off, I didn't know that story about he and Andy Reid and quit your bitching, basically. And that's wild to me. But I think Nick Sirianni needs to have that type of moment if he's not able to command that locker room from the get-go. In some of the one-on-one interviews, we played some stuff for you yesterday with John Clark. He did seem a little bit more relaxed. But maybe football and just on the field, just in the locker room, maybe that's his happy place. Maybe that's his comfort zone. Maybe that's where Nick Sirianni needs to go all the time, mentally speaking, to just be comfortable. So maybe he is a different cat when it comes to being in that locker room and amongst his players. But I wouldn't put it past any of these guys. I mean, I remember when Chip Kelly came to Philly, and I remember watching practice and watching some of the more veteran players kind of going through these conditioning drills that they hadn't. I had never seen them go through before. And I remember a couple of guys looking over at the media and just being like, rolling their eyes and just like, yeah, all right, this guy's in charge. I don't believe in this yet, but I'll do it because I want to play. It ended up working out to the point of at least getting 10-win seasons, but it didn't work out really much past that. I didn't make it the playoffs the first year. But I just thought that was an interesting tidbit that Hugh dropped on us yesterday, and hopefully we don't need one of those moments in Philly, but anytime you're a non-established head coach in the NFL, I think you need that moment to really grab the attention and respect of your players if you don't have it already. We talked about the 76ers. We mentioned Joel Embiid. Practiced yesterday. No setbacks. Should be ready to go tonight. Look forward to watching him back out there on the court. I will tell you, today's guest already, I told you, Alex Singleton is going to join us tomorrow. We're going to be joined by Mark Zumoff, play-by-play announcer from NBC Sports Philadelphia for your 10-9-8 76ers. And I said yesterday at the end of the show, I really miss the Sixers when they're not playing. I miss the Flyers when they're not playing. When your teams are playing so damn good, you really just crave it, especially after going through the pandemic and still going through it, but going through the bubble and the shutdown of sports. I feel like we have really missed out on a lot of sports fun and excitement over the last year, really. So seeing Joel Embiid be at this height of play that we have talked about, it just makes me miss it more when he's not playing. And I was listening to the head coach of the 76ers, Doc Rivers, the Eastern Conference Coach of the Month. By the way, talk about the Eastern Conference Player of the Month in Joel Embiid. And he just was marveling at the maturity. And he was marveling at everything that Joel Embiid was able to put together coming into this season. And so far, I don't know if it's the dad's strength from becoming a father. I don't know. But whatever it is, he is just working on a different gear right now. He is riding a whole new high when it comes to his basketball and athletic ability. And I love watching it unfold. But aside from just Joel Embiid, one of the things that really jumped out to me was Doc Rivers talking about the Sixers record. Best team in the Eastern Conference. They're going to run away with this. They're going to be great. Nobody's really even threatening them right now. The Nets put up a great game last night, but the Sixers. I got to be honest with you. I rarely look at records. If a team is about to set some kind of record, great. Like when they're doing the process years, will the Sixers break their own record of having the least wins ever in a season, right? But Doc Rivers, I think, approaches it how I would approach it as a head coach. And I think how a lot of Philly fans would approach it as well. Doc Rivers says, to hell with the record. It's all about how we look. Because if we watch the NBA, and if you watch the NBA, especially over the last couple of years, load management becoming a huge thing, and the NBA trying to get more involved in that, and finding players and teams for not playing their best guys and all that, don't give them breaks, we'll fine you, that whole thing. One of the things that really jumps out to me is you got to watch the end of the season. And we watched teams like LeBron James with the Cavs when he was out there playing the second time around, take a couple of, not games off, but you just saw they wouldn't hit that highly competitive gear till later in the season. And I think the Sixers, not that they're in the LeBron category at all, but I just want to see them play together with this new head coach, with a lot of new teammates, with a lot of the same two primary pieces in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and see how that comes together. And hopefully it comes together nicely. And I have loved every ounce of what I have seen so far. So Doc Rivers says yesterday, I don't even know what our record is right now. And I kind of believe him. Usually I'll be like, he's just being modest. That person's being modest. I don't buy that with Doc. I think Doc is being 1,000% honest. I don't go that way with Doc, I should say. I think he's been 100% honest. I don't think he cares. I just think he wants to see his team come together. And by the way, we didn't get into this yesterday, but Doc Rivers came out and he said that the matchup zone that they went to in the fourth quarter against the Pacers is basically what changed the course of the game for them. And one of the things that really, really just I found astonishing was the fact that Matisse Thybulle was the guy leading the charge. And I didn't see this. And Matisse Thybulle, I know a lot of us are rooting for him. Solid rookie year, a little up and down right before the break happened, if you will, the shutdown happened, I should say, but then started to get his bearings under him again, and then was right back at it, trying to add to his offensive game. The defensive instincts are just off the charts. He's great. But this was what was wild. TJ McConnell comes out after the Pacers game and basically says that Matisse Thybulle got in the Pacers' head. Matisse Thybulle was playing matchup zone so well, like he had played at Washington, that the Pacers players didn't know what to do. It was almost like going across the middle and hearing the footsteps of the safety. That's what Matisse Thybulle was doing to the Pacers' offense. And TJ McConnell just came out and said it after the game. And those two obviously were never teammates. But TJ McConnell just spitting the truth, saying that Matisse Thybulle was making the players worried to make a mistake. And when you're worried about making a mistake, when you're being hesitant, is another word TJ McConnell used, hesitant, because, where's Matisse? That's when you're really going to mess up. And the Pacers did mess up in that fourth quarter, and the Sixers were able to take control. So good to see Matisse Thybulle getting some praise from the other side of the court when it comes to the Pacers and TJ McConnell. Coming up in just a second, we're going to get to our interview with Alex Singleton, new friend of the show, first active player on the show, Philadelphia Eagles leading tackler. In this interview, we're going to get down to something that I don't feel enough people address with players, and that is when we have a reputation in the city, not with us as fans, but with our own teams. Like, one of the things we always talk about is how the Eagles don't have a linebacker. When are they going to get a linebacker? You had Jordan Hicks. He's done great things out there in Arizona. He's been playing great. But when he was here, he was wildly inconsistent. He was injured a lot. So we need a linebacker. Well, it's not since Jeremiah Trotter. You had Jordan out here for a while, and he was looking good and all that, but inconsistent. We need that linebacker. And when we have a reputation, or when it seems like that seems to be a steady argument, I feel like you should bring it up to a player in that position group and just say, this is what we're saying. What do you think? Do you use it as motivation? We're going to get to that in that conversation with Alex Singleton a little bit later. We have our first Farzy in the field, a little bit I used to do on the radio, bringing it here to the show, as you would assume, with the name Farzy whatnot. So I went out to the Art Museum steps while people were sledding to ask them how to fix Carson Wentz, Nick Sirianni's first order of business. And I think you're going to enjoy some of the very creative answers the good people of Philadelphia gave me on fixing Carson Wentz. I'll just say this: Nick Sirianni, if you're watching, which you probably are, you probably you might want to take some notes because people got pretty creative, if I say so myself. But I do have to tell you about my good friend Steven Singer, as we're right here at the Steven Singer Studios. I am back, and I wouldn't launch without this guy. This guy's absolutely incredible. Throughout my radio career, he's been right there every step of the way, personally and professionally. Big fan of the man, Steven Singer. Got my wife's engagement ring there, our wedding bands there, and all that. And I always recommend Steven Singer Jewelers, both to you, my audience, and also to my friends and family personally, because I know Steven will take phenomenal care of you. We have been working together for years, and Steven likes to think to himself, a man, great diamonds, great jewelry, says, you know what, just think of me of Walmart and Tiffany's combined. And what better time to get the perfect price at Steven Singer Jewelers and the best value at the lowest price? Don't mess around. Go to Steven Singer Jewelers. Sales and discounts don't really exist to him because you're already getting that perfect price. He doesn't even have a promo code because you don't need to save money with a promo code. Steven's already getting you at the best price possible. And fellas, let's not forget about this. Valentine's Day right around the corner, less than 2 weeks away. So let's get on this. Make sure you go to IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Go there right now. Don't miss out on any of the shipping delays. Don't get involved in any of those. Steven Singer Jewelers is where it's at. Number one gift for Valentine's Day, real roses dipped in 24 karat gold preserved, guaranteed to last a lifetime. No better time to say I love you, especially with the brand new Twinkle Twinkle Deep Blue Sparkling Rose, the color of the night sky, just as the sun goes down. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com and get free shipping. IHateStevenSinger.com, just $59. Fellas, Valentine's Day, I got a whole bouquet of gold dip roses upstairs for the missus. Make sure you take advantage of Steven Singer and his good graces during the holiday. Without further ado, we're going to speak to one of the best guys that you can talk to in Philadelphia sports, and I really do mean that. He's a great dude. He came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, Eagles leading tackler. It's amazing. Alex Singleton joined the show on the Zados guest line. Joining us right here, the Eagles' leading tackler from this past season, as a matter of fact. And Alex, I don't remember you getting significant playing time really until I think it was TJ Edwards getting hurt before the San Francisco 49ers game. You come up with the pick six on Sunday Night Football, and the next thing you know, you're top 25 in the entire NFL in tackles. Not too bad right there for an Eagles linebacker.
Yeah, 2020 was a good year for me, I would say.
Absolutely. Now, did you stay on the East Coast during off season, or are you out back in the West Coast?
You know, I stayed a few weeks, but I had to run away from the blizzard. I'm in sunny Southern California.
Oh, Jed, good for you. I was just at the Art Museum steps. We're going to show some footage a little bit later in the show. Kids going sledding, which I've seen before, just not this up close and personal. It's dangerous. It's just as dangerous as it sounds. But
it's
maybe
as silly as it gets.
We like to swim in the fountains here, and we like to go down the Art Museum steps in sleds. Nobody knows how to party like Philly, that's for sure.
No, or as dangerously.
What really worked for you this past season in terms of getting the playing time, getting the snaps, as they say in football, getting the snaps, and then really just having things kind of fall into place for you as well?
Yeah, I most of it was just being prepared. It's I know our team, the last couple of years in Philly, one of Doug's things was, the next man up mentality. And I think just believing in that, in 2019, when I was just fighting to really be on the team, and then eventually became, made the active roster week 7 or 8, in 2019 for the first time. And then just, scrapping away on special teams, but still studying the defense, learning defense, and just kind of knowing who I wanted to be going into 2020 when that season was over, preparing all off season, whether virtually or in person to, hopefully be able to play. And then obviously, not starting week 1 and then just kind of still grinding, still, staying with that same work hard and just do the right thing and be ready to be the next man up. And, when an injury happened, just to be able to go in there and just kind of give that same kind of, don't be the guy, don't be the worst of the next man up, you don't want to be the guy that everyone goes, oh, it's his fault, we should never have put him in. You want to be the guy that just kind of either in the beginning they don't talk about just because you're just doing the right things, or
right,
go in and do the right things.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that is like, well, He's only a backup, so what do you expect? No, you want to go out there and you want to make an impact, which you certainly did. Now, I've heard you talk in the past about your coaches and Ken Flagel and looking at the linebackers coach who has since moved on, Jim Schwartz, same thing, and obviously Doug Peterson no longer here. Kind of want to go one by one there. Ken Flagel, what has he meant to you in your career?
Yeah, first, he was the best teacher I've had of the game. Just his knowledge, obviously, an older guy who's been around the game, for forever. And I hope he hears that because it is true that he's been in the game forever. And, he knows the game. He knows the ins and outs. He's been a coordinator. He's been a position coach. He's been on both sides of the ball. He's done everything you can do in football. And so what he was able to just teach us, just the knowledge of one, of our defense, and then two, just the knowledge that he had of just offenses, just the little things he used to say just helped so much in the games. And yeah, so I would say biggest teacher, and I'd be beyond thankful to be able to play for a guy like that.
I never had a lot of interaction with Ken Flagel, but if I was casting a movie and I needed a military drill sergeant, he would be the first guy I would just put in there. He seems like like he's that kind of guy.
No, he's not a drill sergeant. He is, and he will say his claim to fame. He was in draft day when they filmed in Cleveland. He was working there. He showed us one day. He's in the very corner. Like way in the back, like you have to know that it's him. You got to pause the movie, but he's got some screen time too. So he's already been a movie star.
Whoa.
So coaching was just his second gig that he was participating in.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected. I'm going to go back and watch Draft Day for the second time in my life. But and then also Jim Schwartz. That's a great little factoid though on Flagel. That's fun. Jim Schwartz moving on as well. What has he meant to your career?
Yeah, Jim Schwartz, that's a guy, he respects the game. I think the game means so much to him. It's kind of why he needs to step away. I think, he's been doing it, for however long, I think almost 30 years. And just, he truly grinds and loves this game. His family stays in Nashville during the season. He focuses so much on us. I think all he wants is for us to be the best players we possibly can. And I think just having someone like that just, he demands the respect, from you before you kind of learn that. And at first you think it's, he's the worst coach you've ever had. He's tough on you. He's this guy that he just wants the best out of you. And, until you show that, he kind of waits for you, but he doesn't really wait. He would be the drill sergeant, in my opinion, who I would choose. But because eventually once you learn how hard he works for it, you're willing to do anything for that guy. And that's who Jim Schwartz was, and that's why I loved playing for him, and just being part of whether it was his last game or last season or just a year off, either way, it was really awesome to be able to play for that guy.
That's amazing. And the last man we'll talk about here from the old regime, and it feels weird to even say that, but Doug Peterson. Where were you when you heard the news that Doug Peterson was not going to be back as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, I was still in Philly when I heard that. I couldn't believe it. I love Doug. Doug's a guy. He's a player. He's a player. He's a player's coach. And everything I've done with Doug. Obviously an offensive guy, so not a ton of football talk, but just the way that he led the team. I loved him. It was really fun playing for him. And just like the other two, I would still run my head through a wall for any of those three at any time.
What do you know about your new head coach? What do you know about Nick Sirianni?
Yeah, so I've talked to some people that have played for him, in the past, guys with the Colts and stuff. They said there's nothing but that young, that energy that a lot of the teams are looking for now, which I don't know if we didn't have, but he's that young breed of just excitement that's ready to come in and just to bring that flair to the team. And I'm super excited for that because that's just all anybody's talked about. So to get to compete against the offense is kind of, I'm sure, because he's younger, so I'm sure he's going to try to poke a little bit at us. So I'm excited to be able to poke back.
I will say his introductory press conference, it wasn't a hit in Philly, but I think he's let his personality come out a little bit, and I think people are starting to warm up to the idea.
Yeah, and I feel like, all the hate that he gets from Philly, he's got the most Philly name ever. I feel like he should be the most loved coach ever. He is like what Philly – if you were gonna pick names out of a hat that hey, this is what a Phillies head coach name's gonna be, I thought it'd be perfect. I thought the media would just, instead of finding the first 10 seconds to hate on him.
Oh yeah.
This dude's perfect. Why would we? This is Philly. He is Philly. If you go down to South Street and ask someone what their name is, that's what it's gonna be.
9th Street in particular, yeah, he's the type of guys from 9th and Christian, that area. Nick Sirianni, yeah, absolutely.
It's perfect. Even if they're saying bad things about him, it has to come out just perfect.
You're right. He'll fit in eventually, no matter what. But to go along with that young theme, you have Jonathan Gannon taking over the defensive coordinator position here with the Eagles. What have you heard about your new D coordinator?
Yeah, the exact same thing. Just guys that are ready to just kind of get after it. Like when I talked to, I've only talked to the linebacker coach so far, but just what he was saying, just the energy that they're all going to bring, is just something that is just exciting. Like how they've already been working, how they're already getting after it, how they've just are already game planning for games next year. And it's just like, man, that's exciting to hear. It's like that energy. They're just ready to go. And that's when something's new, it's always fun when they bring that, positive energy.
I'm going to bring something up. Aside from coaching and everything else, and there's one more name on the list that came in as a linebackers coach. We'll get to that in 1 second. But before we get to that name, are you aware of the criticism the linebacker position in Philadelphia falls under for, say, the last 15 years?
No.
So in Philadelphia, we always think, well, we need linebackers on this team. We need somebody to step up and be a linebacker. And seeing you rise the way you did over the last 2 seasons with the Eagles, most notably last year, has given at least me a little bit of hope about this position, because we watched Jeremiah Trotter for years here in this city just dominate the interior defensive line, coming up almost as a third defensive tackle, as some of his teammates would tease him, and then being able to drop back and make a big hit as well. So we've been waiting for that type of guy on a consistent basis to play that middle linebacker spot for the Eagles. And I'll say, going back and looking at the film this year, you seem to be on your way to at least being that guy that we've been waiting a long time for, being that guy that could be a consistent, steady, reliable middle linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. Obviously these off seasons are long, new coaching change, but I'm going to go in there and just kind of do everything I can to be that guy. I want to be that guy. So I'm excited for at least the city, kind of being behind me and, motivating me to, be that guy, because I'm going to do everything I can to be that person.
Well, that's why I tell you, because I know you'll find motivation in something like this. And I'm just telling you, everyone's looking at the linebacker position going, hey, how come we never got linebackers? And then here's Alex Singleton just coming in here making tackles, no big deal. And I figured you enjoyed that little piece of motivation.
Yeah, you got to have it.
You obviously will be determined to do that, and then your new linebackers coach, and I think I'm saying his name right. He's coming over from Minneapolis, from the Minnesota Vikings. Nick Rallis, I believe is how you say his name. Have you heard his name before? Do you know him? Do you know anything about him?
We've already had a conversation. I know guys, I was in Minnesota, way back in 2015 on a practice squad. So, I played with Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr. So I was able to reach out to them and kind of, ask them about him. And like I said, he's that same young energy. I think we're the same age. So obviously the young energy is very, very full in our room, since we'll be the 2 oldest guys in the room, and we'll be, the same age. No, it's exciting. I know he's ready to go. I know he's itching to go. He's been in the building already all week. So I'm super excited, and I know he is too.
Awesome. Last thing for you, and this is something that's great. Whenever I talk to you, I always try to bring it up. I mentioned liking some Instagram pictures from the Eagles, putting out your stats to you before we went on the interview here. The workouts with your sister, Ashley?
Yep.
Can you just walk us through some of that and what exactly you're doing? Besides staying in shape for yourself, she's also an athlete.
Yeah. So, last year when COVID hit, a lot of people were just looking for things to do for workouts and everything. And what was awesome is, so she's a Special Olympic athlete. And so what we were able to do is they were doing Facebook Live workouts, and they kind of asked us, one of the, affiliates reached out and just said, hey, will you guys lead a couple workouts? And so we really like doing that. So this off season, we decided to make our own YouTube channel, which is just Alex and Ashley Singleton. And we, take people through a workout, and it's kind of, for all levels. So, whether you can, stand, sit, whatever it is, if you just got to walk, so we figured we can show every level of athlete what they can do to get a good workout in 30 minutes, and they can do it with us. And, we push each other as hard as we can, and, just get a good sweat in. And we're doing it twice a week now. And we're just trying to, lead as many people as they can, and for a good, healthy lifestyle, and for all levels, whether it's, a Special Olympic athlete or, the leading tackler on the Philadelphia Eagles. We want it to be from, just every single level of athlete, and everyone be able to join us.
That's absolutely incredible. I know I'm good on my workouts for the foreseeable future after shoveling all this snow outside on my walkway here. So I'll get back to it. Maybe I'll give myself a couple of weeks off, and then I'll jump on the YouTube channel, and I'll go ahead and work out with you and Ashley. All right?
Yes, we'll be waiting for you. We'll be busting these workouts out, and hopefully a lot of these other Philadelphians will be joining us.
Alex, we're lucky to have you, man. Thanks so much for all you do, both in the community and also what you're doing for the Philadelphia Eagles. Continued success. Can't wait to see you back on the football field, my man.
Appreciate it. And thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Like, I almost felt bad for asking the linebacker question about how we've never had a linebacker since, well, never. We haven't had a linebacker in here since really Jeremiah Trotter. He was like, no, I haven't heard that. I felt like I crushed his spirit. He is right, though. Nick Sirianni is that's a South Philly name for obvious reasons. But he loves playing in Philly, I'll tell you that much. And also the stuff he does with his sister, getting her involved, and she's an athlete in herself in Special Olympics. I do highly recommend checking out his social media, especially his Instagram. Easy to find. Alex Singleton, 49, I believe it is. And it's awesome just to see the work that he puts in, how genuine he is with it, obviously. And I root for that guy because that's a guy that went up and was like Defensive Player of the Year in the Canadian Football League after some stints here in the NFL. Gets another shot with the Eagles last year, and then this most recent regular season makes the most of his opportunity by going out there. And how about that? Leading the team in tackles and was top 25 in the NFL in tackles. Not too bad for that young man. So great to see a guy like that having some success at the NFL level, at least personally. Continued growth for Alex Singleton. Do have to tell you about some of our great sponsors here, most notably right now, our friends at DraftKings. Big bet segment coming up a little bit later in the show. I like to brag. I take shots. What can I say? I take shots. And last night, I just happened to hit on it perfectly. No big deal. But I do want to tell you about DraftKings and all the things they have going on for the 55th big game this weekend. You know what game I'm talking about. And to finish off the football season, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is giving all new customers a no-brainer type of offer when you use promo code Farzy. That's right. Use promo code Farzy to celebrate football's finale. DraftKings Sportsbook is doubling your money if a touchdown is scored. I'm pretty sure between Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady and all his weapons, there's going to be a touchdown scored. So that's right. One touchdown to be scored on Sunday night, and you, boom, just double your money just like that. That's all you got to do. And it's a great thing right now. It's a reason to party. If that wasn't enough of a reason to party, then you go to DraftKings and get in on their big game prediction challenge with up to $55 million in total prizes up for grabs and instant prizes. Everyone who enters has a shot at winning. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now or use promo code Farzy. Once again, promo code Farzy to get a shot at doubling your money if a touchdown is scored in Sunday's game. That's promo code Farzy only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older and present in Pennsylvania. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/prediction-challenge-DFS. For details, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And also, Zados Investments, great sponsor of our guest line. They're an up-and-coming luxury real estate development and investment company in the Philadelphia area. They design and develop top-of-the-line custom homes all around the city, ranging from small single-family rehabs to also just ground-up construction as well, new construction on townhomes and condominiums throughout the city of Philadelphia. Zados also works closely with private investor base to provide them with substantial returns on their investment, ranging from 20 to 40%. These guys, go take care of business for yourself, as a matter of fact. To see their properties and learn how you can invest with Zados, reach out to info@zadosinvestments.com. That's zadosinvestments.com. ZATOS investments.com. And finally, these people are great because they sponsor our next segment, Fan Up. Fan Up wants to get Philadelphia involved on their brand new app. This thing's incredible. If you want to get involved in the big game and be the MVP yourself of the big game, sign up for Fan Up. Join Fan Up's super fun big game contest to win a Peloton bike plus a mirror home gym, or you can win both. The days of playing fantasy football alone are over. Enter Fan Up's super fun big game tier contest. Answer questions, watch the game, see who's right. I'm doing it myself with some friends, so make sure you check it out. It's fun, easy, and you can win a Peloton. You could also win a mirror as well. You can win both. How about that? Download the Fan Up app. Use promo code SBLV, that's SBLV, or Fan Up, and get 2,000 bonus points right out of the gate. That's SBLV or Fan Up. May the best fans win. And speaking of the fans, when I'm out and about, and one of the reasons I named the show the Farzy Show and not the Marc Farzetta Show, for instance, is because very rarely am I out and about and people go, yo, Mark, or yo, Farzetta, or even, hey, Marc Farzetta, like that. It's Farzy. 9 times out of 10, it's Farzy. And what's amazing is when I got a mask on and I'm like at a hardware store or something, people still recognize me. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but maybe it's the bald, maybe it's the beard. I stick out. I don't know. However, Farzy is how you guys have come to know me, and I'm not going to disrupt that if that's how you've come to know me. So we go out into the field, and this is probably the biggest reason why. Farzy in the field was a bit I did on radio for a long time, and it seems to hit it off well with people. And I love it because I get to go out with the people. And one of the things that sucks so much about social distancing is that I really don't get to do this bit a lot. And when I was doing it for other outlets, it just didn't, it didn't feel the same because we couldn't really do it the right way. Now, with social distance in place, with masks on, for the most part, at least I can speak for myself, I went to the steps of the art museum while people were sledding down the steps, beautiful Philly tradition, and I asked them, how do you fix Carson Wentz? That's the issue we tried to address in this edition, the first ever socially distanced Farzy in the field, brought to you by Fan Up. Check it out.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Okay, I like it. I like the energy right out of the gate because we have to fix Carson Wentz, and we need positive energy in order to do that. So how would you fix Carson Wentz?
I think you got to tell him that last year was just an anomaly. I don't know. I told him to get off that vegan diet. Give him some red meat. He's kind of weak out there. Keeps getting hurt. Can't be having a veggie only diet. You're in the NFL. Come on.
You gotta get some confidence, man. Come back next year happy. We need you strong.
You gotta give him confidence and tell him. Got to coach him up that he's got it in him. He was a second overall pick. He's obviously got the talent.
How would you fix Carson Wentz?
So I don't necessarily know if he needs to be fixed per se, but I would say just make it an open competition between him and Jalen and let him duke it out.
All right, now with that, who do you think wins?
Eagles. The competition?
You're not
I'm
wrong.
sorry.
I hope you're not wrong. But between the two, Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz, who do you think is the Eagles starting quarterback next year?
Between the two, I'd like to see them go with Jalen, but I have a feeling it might be Carson that wins the open competition.
And your feeling?
I totally agree.
She's a good woman. Hold on to her. Hold on to her. You seem like you have the same hair color as Carson Wentz. Do you root harder for Carson Wentz because you guys share that trait?
I'm a little ginger, and I think it's important to stand together. There's only a few: Andy Dalton, Carson Wentz. I think that's about it. So, yeah, I root for him a little bit on that.
Those are the inspirations for your community.
I do believe that Carson Wentz could use some improvement with the right coaching. I think he can get back on track.
Actually, I think there's a lot of toxic masculinity in professional football. I'd like to get him in a dress. Maybe if he was feeling more comfortable with himself, he'd play better,
Okay, so like a mind thing. You would put him in a dress to get his
mental strength, and comfort in oneself.
So
I think that could fix him.
As long as he's thinking about the dress, he's not thinking about playing bad football.
Exactly.
Have you ever seen the movie Major League 2? There was a catcher named Rube who read adult magazines to take his mind off throwing back to the pitcher.
No, but, different idea, but I like it.
I think he can do it. I think he's in a slump.
See, I think that positive energy will be channeled to Carson Wentz, and he'll be fixed
right.
and back to MVP form.
Woo! Pennsylvania!
It's been a while since we've heard that. Thank you.
Bring it back!
Nick Sirianni, first order of business, fixing Carson Wentz. How would you fix him? Trade him. I'm not against the idea of Rube. I don't remember Rube's last name from Major League 2. I'm sorry, but maybe it'll work. Put Carson Wentz in a dress. He's not thinking about football. He's just thinking about the dress, and then he just goes out there and just plays amazing. I forgot about the vegan diet thing. I'm always seeing the pictures of him hunting. I just saw another one with him, the ducks and all that stuff. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. I do like the one lady's just eternal optimism. Maybe that's it. Or maybe it's, as the man pointed out, who happened to be of a reddish hue hair color, as he called himself. I myself am a little ginger, and I want to root for my man. That's a good thing. Maybe maybe the entire community can rise up to support Carson Wentz and have him feel those positive vibes. But one of the bigger things that was said was just confidence. You realize that you're a pretty damn good quarterback when you want to be. Go back to that. I know it's easier said than done, but sometimes maybe go back and watch some of that film. Maybe go back, watch that, and say, damn, I actually am pretty good at this sport. Hey, Jalen Hurts, you want to make this a competition? You think it's a competition? Yeah, let's have a competition. Let's party. And maybe that's what he needs to do. Love to see it. But thank you to everyone who participated. And I will say this. I've lived most of my adult life in the Fairmount area of Philadelphia. And seeing people come down, I've always driven around and seen the people sledding. I never saw it like that, like up close and personal like that. Damn. Like the kids going down. I saw this one kid because there's like a whole bunch of snow that develops at the base of the art museum steps. And I'm looking at it and I'm seeing the kids come down. Kids, 8, 9, 10 years old. They come down and there's a little thing of snow at the bottom and boom, they hit the thing of snow. And then boom, they hit the concrete. And this one kid, boom, hit the back of his head. And he like laid there for a minute. And I was like, is anybody gonna do anything? And the guy's dad walked up and was like, hey, walk it off, son. Walk it off. I was like, oh, all right. Well, that's why we got some tough kids in the city of brotherly love. Now, we do like to give you the social media check-in every day, and it's brought to you by Steak and Maine. Social media check-in. First off, shout out to my man Dan Orlovsky of ESPN. Great guy, just liking away on everything on the site. Appreciate that very much, Dan Orlovsky. You're the man. Have to have you on the show sometime. Next one up here is Donnie Scalise, my man. I hope I'm saying your last name correct. Wants to do a meatball or Sinatra show. Why can't we do both? I feel like if we're going to be listening to Sinatra, might as well be eating some meatballs. I believe I've had your meatballs before a long time ago, and they were fantastic, sir. I haven't forgotten that, as a matter of fact. That's social media check-in. It's brought to you by Steak and Maine, doing great things in the northeast section of Maryland. If you're in for fine dining, great steak, great sushi, just about everything, check out my man Tony Cavada at Steak and Maine. Phenomenal place. Now time for the morning rush. These are all the stories I like to give you right before you get to the office or right before you start your workday at home. Here's your morning rush. Courtside Karen, we mentioned yesterday, she issued an apology. I hope you got a chance, not at work, not around other people because it wasn't safe for work, to at least listen to her rant and rave about everything that happened between her and LeBron James at the Lakers-Hawks game in Atlanta 2 nights ago. She went out there and possible in the direction of LeBron James because LeBron was jawing with her husband. And when he started jawing with her husband and her husband was jawing with LeBron, it wasn't like LeBron was just seeking somebody out. It was fan trash talk, if you will. And apparently it went to a gear that Courtside Karen, Juliana is her real name, was all up in arms. And she thought it went to a different level. She stood up, started yelling at LeBron, got kicked out of the Hawks-Lakers game, went home. Well, actually was in the corridors of the stadium in Atlanta, yelling at her phone, calling out LeBron every name in the book, went home, called LeBron every name in the book. And then she came out and apologized for everything yesterday. If she did it by video, I didn't see the video. I just saw the written statement. And the written statement that she had in a nice, very social media print, I guess, with all decorations and almost bedazzled. The picture that she put out there with the of her statement was basically, I'll just paraphrase it for you. My apologies. It went to a level it should not have. When I saw somebody going after my husband, I couldn't help but to jump in. I'm going to speak to the fellas for a second. Have you ever been in that situation where maybe you're, trash talking somebody else, or maybe you're out and about and things start to escalate a little bit with another guy in terms of some reason you two people should not be in the same room at the same time. And out of nowhere, your lady steps up and says something, and then she starts fighting your fight, and then you feel like you're about that big. It's happened to me once, just once, only once. Never happened after that. I just said, sweetie, I'll to my wife, babe, I'll take care of it, because I'm pretty good at keeping things light. This was a situation where it was very difficult to do that, but it did happen. When your lady steps up for you, I think most men feel about that big. Ladies, I love you for it because that's what you want to do, because you want to defend us. Courtside Karen, good for you in that regard. Maybe you should have left it between the two guys that were jawing. Just maybe, especially with the mask down, NBA players trying to avoid all sorts of COVID and all that stuff. Maybe a good idea. But check that out. If you haven't checked out her rant, go ahead and do that. Away from the kids and away from the workplace as well. And then her Courtside Karen apology. Thought this was an interesting nugget. LaShawn McCoy wants to retire as an Eagle. Why not? As the Eagles' all-time leading rusher. I love this stuff. Jason Witten's going to do it for the Cowboys, which I think gives him 3 times retiring technically. But I love this idea of guys re-signing with the team that they played the vast majority of their career with, the team that they consider to be their team. I love it. LaShawn McCoy, come on down, sign up, and he wants to win a second Super Bowl. How about that? LaShawn McCoy could be a back-to-back Super Bowl champion. Crazy. Playing against the team that he was on last year at the Super Bowl, and the Kansas City Chiefs didn't play, inactive in the playoffs, but still gets a ring. And now he's on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady and could possibly get a ring. I don't see it happening this year with the Bucs. I'll get into that in big bets again. In the NBA, if you haven't seen these stories yet, the Brooklyn Nets just took it, just were unbelievable last night. Kyrie Irving actually was the guy that went off. 39 points for Brooklyn in their win last night. And then the Raptors, you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. You're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. Fred VanVleet of the Toronto Raptors dropped 54 points. 54 points, Fred VanVleet, the role player fellow that we didn't think we'd have to worry about in that series a couple of years ago against the Sixers. 54 points. He made 11 three-pointers against the Magic. He was on fire. I saw a graphic with I saw his shot chart, rather, and it was just like green circle all over the place. It was just made, good. And he was on fire last night against the Magic. But like I said, the Nets came up with a big win over the Clippers, 124-120. Kyrie going off for 39 points in that game. And the Raptors with Fred VanVleet taking care of business against the Magic with 54 points. That right there is our Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motor Cars, the official car of Carson Wentz and Avante Maddox. So make sure you check them out, skymotorcars.com. Big Bets segment brought to you by our good friends at brought to you by our good friends at DraftKings. All the great things that they do. Fan Up was helping us out earlier in the show. DraftKings has us for big bets. 1-0 so far. I don't like to brag. 1-0. I told you last night the game to take was the Blazers. The Blazers giving to the Wizards. Blazers coming off a tough loss to the Bucks. They were going to Washington, going to DC. Loved them. They won that game last night. They won with the -2 as well. So 1-0 so far in the big bet segment. I've been telling you about the Super Bowl all year, or excuse me, really all week in the 3 shows we've done. I'll tell you about it again right now. -3.5 right now, Kansas City Chiefs, -3.5. Still love that. Absolutely. I see the Chiefs winning this game by at least a touchdown. I have them. I know Tom Brady always has close Super Bowls. It's fine. I think the Chiefs, as I said yesterday, are just going to handle their business, changing of the guard. Saw Eric Fisher not going to play. I still think they're going to be just A-OK when it comes to taking on Tom Brady's Buccaneers. So we got that. The game I do like tonight, I will rarely do this, but I do like the Sixers tonight, -7.5 on DraftKings. -7.5 right now on DraftKings. Sixers versus the Hornets tonight. I do like the Sixers action. Get the return of Joel Embiid. Another rejuvenated Sixers team getting a couple of days off, going to Charlotte and taking care of business against the Hornets. So I do like the Sixers tonight, -7.5. To recap some of our top stories that we got to at the top of the show today, and Big Bets obviously brought to you by DraftKings. Here's what you got. Top of the show today, we talked about Matisse Thybulle, who apparently scared the hell out of the Pacers and their offense, forcing turnovers left and right in the fourth quarter, made them very hesitant, according to TJ McConnell. And, of course, the big story of the day was what Jalen Hurts had to say to CBSSports.com about welcoming a quarterback competition. Overall, you file it under, well, what's he going to say? A lot of people would say the sheepish thing and, if that's what coach wants to do, that's what coach wants to do. Show some confidence. Anybody who's going to be a quarterback for the Eagles, like I started the show with, anybody's going to be a quarterback for the Eagles, I want you to have some swagger. I want you to have some confidence. Jalen Hurts, good for you for everything you said. More of it, please. I want you competing as much as you, because here's the bottom line. I don't care. I don't care who the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles is next year, as long as whoever is playing that position is playing pretty damn good football. I don't care if it's Carson. I don't care if it's Jalen Hurts. I think financially, as I'll say throughout the time he's actually named, it makes sense for it to be Carson. But I don't care who it is. I just want the best guy to play. And as Sirianni has said, everyone's down for a competition. Well, good, because you're a professional athlete, and that's what your whole living is based on, competition. So good for Jalen Hurts for saying what he said. I'm so disappointed in myself. I can't believe I missed this story. I meant to get to this earlier in the morning rush segment. But before you get to work today, if you're between the ages of like 35 and 45, maybe a little older, a little younger, you might remember a show named called Punky Brewster. Well, yesterday I told you the unfortunate passing of Dustin Diamond. This is a much more happy, nostalgic reference. Soleil Moon Frye, who played Punky Brewster, is reviving that show. And if that wasn't enough for your nostalgic kick, Freddie Prinze Jr. plays her ex-husband in the show Punky Brewster, The Revival. She's still lovely, beautiful lady. She's been in some other stuff, not a lot, but she's been in some other stuff. She plays a single mom, divorced from Freddie Prinze Jr., raising, I believe, 3 kids. So they're revamping, just after they revamped Saved by the Bell, they're revamping Punky Brewster. If Henry's not involved, not for nothing, I'm sorry, I thought he made the show. But 2 Punky Brewster episodes that really jumped out to me. One, the kid got stuck in the refrigerator and had to get CPR, and the kids all learned CPR, so I learned something that day. Thank you very much. Anyway, then I also learned that the candles on the birthday cake were a dangerous thing. So everyone's got to be careful with that. Don't let your hair catch on fire. Other than that, folks, as always, as we have through the first 2 shows we've had this week, and as I have had today, I've had a blast with you. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. If you're downloading the podcast later, thank you very much. If you're listening to this on the podcast, thank you very much. If you watch this live on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Facebook Live, across social media platforms, thank you for doing so. Always a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll be back with you tomorrow with Mark Zumoff and a very special guest on Friday morning. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and hopefully the shoveling is over. Take it easy, everybody.